mindfulness works is by looking into the circuitry of the brain. And so we all have actually a handy model of the brain, which is actually our hand. So if you take your hand and fold your thumb into the middle of your palm and your fingers over, this would be an example of a brain where the person's eyes are here, the top of their head is here, their brain is connected to the body itself at the spinal cord, which is represented in your wrist. The way the brain is composed, its architecture, helps us understand how mindfulness works. If you lift your fingers up and lift your thumb up, we go to the first part of the brain in the skull, which is here called the brainstem. And this is where you have the regulation of the body and where you also have the fight, flight, and freeze response that are created. This area of the brainstem, very primitive area, works together with the next area that's on top of it called the limbic area, and this is represented by the thumb. The limbic area helps generate our emotions. There are parts of it that help us feel our feelings. We also distinguish different aspects of memory. And in particular, this limbic area responds to our relationships. Okay? Now, this limbic area and brainstem area, they work together. And because these are below the next area of the brain, the cortex, we call them subcortical. A lot of our impulses, our automatic behaviors, our just innate learned reactions to things, our instincts, are driven by these subcortical areas, including information that comes up from the body itself. Your heart pounding, your intestines churning, feed up to the limbic area in the brainstem and get you all revved up. So that's a kind of loop that creates what we call our emotional state. The cortex developed when we became mammals also, as the limbic area did, but the front part of this cortex, from your second to last knuckles down to your fingernails, the front part developed when we became primates, and this part where your fingernails are is called the prefrontal cortex because it's the frontmost part of the frontal lobe. This is the part that's most developed in humans. And it's this part that gives us the ability to pause before acting on an impulse. And the way it works is there are fibers that come down from this middle prefrontal area that actually calm down the irritable limbic area or brainstem area. Literally, this prefrontal region regulates the lower subcortical, limbic, brainstem, and even bodily areas. So, in many ways, what we think happens is mindful awareness practice creates a state of activation in that moment that in a way harnesses the power of this prefrontal area in that moment. As you repeatedly practice something, that state can become a trait because neurons which are firing together wire together. So with the strengthening of this prefrontal area, what happens is, for example, if a child is angry and the brainstem is activating a fight response, the limbic area works with that to develop a feeling of fear. There's a sense of betrayal by what happens. So you're really angry, you're burning up, your heart is pounding, and everything is going to get you to fight, to get a knife, to get a gun, to hit someone, to do something really violent. But your prefrontal cortex has you pause. And the very parts of the brain that allow you to pause are also the same part of the brain, this middle prefrontal area, that allows you to have insight into what's going on. My heart's pounding, I'm really angry. Empathy for someone else. Maybe that guy didn't mean it, or maybe he's doing the best he can. And then even a sense of morality. So when we develop the middle prefrontal areas, we actually can not only pause, but we can think of the larger social good and enact a behavior that's better for everyone. And that's where mindfulness really alters things like bullying, like violent acts of aggression. And it's where mindfulness can change the world, literally, one person, one relationship at a time.